Hello and welcome to the OLY podcast show. I hope you're doing good. I hope if you're listening on the Tuesday, you are doing fine and your weekend was great. If you're listening on any other day, welcome to the show. If you're a first time listener, welcome to the show. My name is Lewis. I'm the guy that founded OLY Clothing, and we set up the show pretty much to help bring successful people to light from all walks of life. We have Olympians, we have CrossFit Games athletes, we have restaurateurs, and we have coffee shop owners. We have multiple people who have found success in their own space and can teach us a lesson or two about feeling, about learning, about living, about pursuing goals, whatever it may be. So welcome. On today's show, we have Kim Jaeger. Kim is the CEO of Varus in Europe. Varus, in my opinion, are one of the best brands in terms of the quality of their product, one of the best brands on earth. They make high-end performance apparel for training and are big in the spaces of functional fitness and MMA and a couple of other spaces. Kim's a great guy. I met him about just over 6 months ago, and ever since then, I would consider us good friends. Kim's been there for me, giving me counsel, giving me a nudge in the right direction whenever I needed advice, and he's been awesome. And for as busy as he is, he always has time for me, and it just baffles me that I've stumbled across someone like him. So you will get a sense from listening to the show that he's got a very, very quiet demeanor, but do not be fooled. He is the silent assassin. He is full of wisdom, full of knowledge, and thankfully we got to get an insight into it, and he really does deliver a lot of value. We get an insight to his journey, we get an insight to the things he's learned along the way, and shows that it's really not a straightforward path as everybody would think, or as I would have thought in the first place. So what I will say is, if you're listening to this show today, you can avail of our discount code, which is the OLY podcast discount code. So letter for letter, it is capital OLY podcast. That's OLY podcast. If you put that in at the checkout, it will give you discount on every single product in your basket. It's the only code that does that on our site, so do avail of it if you want to. I understand stock is getting low as well. We are working on that right now. We've got a summer sale coming up shortly as well, so we want to start building our stock numbers again to justify that. So if you're going to go on today and listen and you get value, please do me a favor and share it to a friend, or comment or review on iTunes, or do something, help the show along. We're hell-bent on not paying any ad money for this, because that's not what it's about. It's not a sales platform. It's not a way for us to make money. It's a way for us to add value to people and deliver our mission statement. So no further ado, I'll leave you with the company motto, which is small victories repeated daily. And once again, guys, thank you so much for listening. Without you, this would not be possible. So thanks, and I hope you enjoy. All the best. Hello and welcome to the OLY podcast show. We are joined today by none other than CEO of Varus in Europe, Kim Jaeger. Jaeger or Jaeger?
Doesn't really matter, I think. Whatever you how you wanna pronounce it. In Denmark, we say Jaeger, actually.
Well,
it's a hunter.
I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that with my awful Northern Irish accent. So, but yes, Kim, thank you so much for coming on. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you guys?
We're good, mate. We're busy. In the middle of kind of putting structure to our summer sale, just after our SS20 launch. Doing a lot of hard, beefy work in the background. Trying to add clarity to our mission and our message at the moment, which, as you know, is hard. Yep, I see the smirk on your face, you know. But yeah, bro, it's we're good. How are things? Well, besides, actually, that's a great place to start. Actually, an even better place to start is, Kim, tell me a bit about you. Give me like a 3-minute intro of your elevator pitch. I've never met you before, so give me it. Obviously, I have met you, but pretend we haven't.
Okay, so just like me as a person, I would say, or like a 3-minute thing. That should be simple enough. So, like, I grew up in Denmark and I was adopted from South of Korea, but like I've lived in Denmark all my life. Uh, and in the beginning of my life, I thought I would become like a guitar guy.
I
So
remember
I
telling
studied
me
a lot of,
that.
yeah. So I studied like conservatory and like studied music in the university and all that stuff. And then I kind of figured out that's not the path because I don't think I had the rock star gene in me. And then I worked at a skiing company selling ski trips to everyone, like, families and all that stuff in France and Austria. And then when I stopped there, then at some point I thought, let's do something else. And during all this time, I've tried to train a bit, like just doing normal fitness. And then I found the CrossFitty thing, um, and then I just I went to the Meridian, I think it was called back then, like in Madrid. And
Yeah.
then I saw this sad looking booth, which was the virus booth at the time. And I don't know why I knew the brand. I just remembered I seen it somewhere. So I just went over there and talked to them, and they were sad because all their stuff got caught in customs, because that's also a thing, like bringing stuff from the US to Europe is an interesting exercise if you haven't done it before.
Yep.
Um, and then we just talked. I emailed them like when after the Meridian, and then we said like, let's just try and make something work. And then we decided to give the Europe thing a shot. So yeah, I guess that's around 3 minutes, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a pretty good elevator pitch. And that's actually
thank you.
interesting because I didn't know that that was actually how you got into Varus. Like you merely just went up and inquired and asked a couple of questions.
Yeah,
And did you move straight into that CEO role, or did you go into the marketing to understand the brand, or what was that transition?
I guess in the beginning we just like said we'll give you some products, and then at the same time I worked for like a Danish fitness like chain. I don't know what's it called, like fitness center that was doing a CrossFit competition called Woodstock. And then like my responsibility was the vendors, and then I had products, so I just of course gave myself a vendor position, vendor spot, and then I got two girls that I never met before to try and sell some clothes. And then it went well, and then I just had a lot of a lot of virus products in one of my friends' basements, and then it just started like with us doing a lot of events. So we just like traveled around random places in Europe. Some were successful, some were less successful, and and then at some point after a couple of months, like or perhaps 6 months, we decided let's do the website as well. So cloned the website, and then there's a lot of boring things like to making a company and yeah, currencies and languages in Europe, but we're still having some issues sometimes. But then we let's give it a go. So I think I was by myself for like a year, and then I got a intern to do customer service, and then in November 18, I think I had my first employee, and now we're like 5 full-time people sitting in Copenhagen, and then we have like people to help out at events and stuff like that.
I love that.
So
That's awesome. And then timeline wise, what was the year you kind of what year was Meridian? I think the last year of it was six. No, not 16, but what year was that?
17, 17, I
17.
think. Yeah. So I left my job from the ski company like in November, and I think that's when I started full time with Virus, and then the website opened in March 18.
Bro, that's such
So that's
a very short timeline for like. There's a lot of moves that were made, um, in that, and obviously you're bound to have buckets of experience from all the different things that you've done in the past, or I'm assuming that that's where you learned how to do all of this, or was there a lot of stuff that you had to learn on the fly?
mm, I guess on a personal level there was, as I said, like in the music thing, it wasn't because I was the best at playing guitar, but I played a lot because I was good at like keeping relationships intact and sometimes you have to be the annoying person who calls a lot of times before you get the gig, but that's how it is. I would say in the ski company, I was also the first employee, and then when I stopped, they were like 10 full time.
Still here, bro. Just had to turn the charger on. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, sure, no, that's fine. So I guess like the first, like when you're the first employee at another company, then you have to do everything. So like done the website, done all that stuff, but opening like a company in Europe, in Denmark especially, with all our different banking issues, that took a bit of time, and also trying to understand fees for everything. You have to pay fees all the time, and trying to like wrap my head around all that stuff. And shipping is also a pretty crazy expense. And in this Amazon era where everyone just thinks that shipping is always free, well, perhaps for like some companies it's cheaper, but it's still a pretty big expense.
And I think
companies.
Yeah, I know, and I think like it's interesting because a lot of people think that businesses are kind of like it's a one size fits all model where you can, like, virus in America is totally different to virus in Europe, and it's purely because of the logistical implications of being in Denmark. And it's funny, like you said, about the fees and the delivery rates, and we relate to that because like we're on the border with Ireland, and like even with delivery rates, it's ridiculous. For us to send to Ireland, it's actually counted as an international package, and we'll have some companies reach out and say to us about like we'll maybe lose custom because our delivery rate's so high, but for every package we send to Ireland we lose money, and we have to build that in to our model. And a lot of customers wouldn't really realize that or recognize that. So it's always interesting, and it's actually one thing you said there about the rates and stuff in Denmark. We were in Sweden for an event not last summer. Well, it was last summer, and there was just like, even for us to get money to exchange, to do all those things was just a complete nightmare at times. So like, what were the biggest challenges and the biggest barriers for whenever you were setting virus up in Denmark? Like what were the biggest surprises as well?
Mm-hmm. Oh, there was a lot of surprises. I guess so from my perspective, I understand that Europe is different, but like having like business partners from the US, they don't really understand that Europe is like, there's a lot of different countries and people are different, and it's different markets, different kind of athletes, all that stuff. So, and we still spend a lot of time on figuring out how much content to create, because even though you could say this functional fitness thing we're doing are kind of the same, the people are the same, then the look is still different, and the feel, and temperament. There's a lot of different stuff going on, like from Northern Europe, which you can somehow compare a bit, and then the south of Europe is a bit different. And then I would say like a boring thing, like for internet trade, is like the currency was a difficult thing for us in the beginning, because in Denmark we have to use our own currency, which is like Danish kroner. And a lot of our invoices has to say everything in Danish. Or like, so people don't always understand that, why is this crazy amount, and then you have to explain them that, oh, it's because it's our currency, and then but it won't say that on your invoice, and blah blah. And we still do that at events, actually, because as a Danish company you're bound by law to take your money in Danish. So when you're in Ireland, like, you have to go and pay and it's going to say DKK, and no one understands, and then they think you're trying to hustle, but we're just trying to get them money.
I know, because I remember whenever I went up to the stall at the Filthy 150, that's where we met. I was like, this geezer's having me on. I'm paying like 2,000 krones here. I'm going to be needing a mortgage just to pay for the trousers and the shorts.
So that's difficult, I think.
Yeah, well, it's kind of been, what was the one of the questions I was going to say is, obviously, like you're talking about a lot of the barriers kind of in starting, but what are like some of the barriers now? Because obviously we run similar businesses. Obviously, you guys are head and shoulders above. Like we're a very small player, but you know everyone's feeling the effects of this COVID and this lockdown, and e-commerce has changed literally before my eyes multiple times in the last 3 months, and normally it would change a few times in a year or in 2 years, not in 3 months. So how did you adapt to that? You know, what was maybe some stuff that you done to pivot, or like I wanted to use the magical P word
Uh,
there. But you know, what did you do? What was the plan of attack?
well, unfortunately, one of the first plans is the free shipping and doing some discounting, which is normally not a game plan we use too much because we think we have a pretty high quality of product,
Big
so
time.
we don't always like to discount it too much. But then that's how it is at the moment. Like if everyone's doing it, then unfortunately you sometimes have to go with the
Yeah.
flow, because else you could buy a Nike or Adidas or whatever. Like there's a lot of brands, so like there's also a lot of other cool brands of good quality that discount. So you can't just like, you have to get on the train. Um, like what we foresee in the future, we have a lot of cooler new products coming out, like a lot of outerwear and like more fleece stuff and stuff like that. And at the same time, we're trying to find back to the core of what we're doing as a brand. Like why did so I wasn't like in the beginning, like that's 10 years ago or something, but like trying to get back to the story and the main purpose of why we're doing what we're doing. Because like it's more than just selling clothes, right?
Yeah,
It's kind of
bro. Yeah,
it's yeah.
preach.
And yeah, and I think people sometimes forget that, and sometimes you can also just get caught up in like trying to find a cheaper way to ship stuff or whatever. Like you can spend a lot of time on not essential stuff,
Yeah,
whereas
on what I would call playing business rather than doing business is that there's always wee quick wins and there's always wee quick ways, but ultimately, I buy from Varus. Varus is one of the only clothing brands that I will buy from, and it's one because of the product, but two because of the market and message and what you're trying to do. And I think that's always why people invest in your brand. We generally like if your brand has a big mission and it has a great why and a good understanding of what they're trying to achieve and how they're going to achieve it, is that's ultimately why you can get a customer on for so long. Um, and it's so easy and so it can so quickly happen that you can get away from that. Um, so like what are things you like? Because I'm being a bit self-serving here, but I want to know like how you're going to move back to delivering the mission and the message again.
so the I won't say it's not a fun part, but a part was that the mission kind of got lost during the last, like during like a big growth period. Like it just got lost. So the tagline of Virus is the passion that defines you, which actually just means like that you like your sport so much that it's like it's a virus, so you can't not do your sport,
Yeah,
right? um and that's what we want to get back at. So we want to try to make good quality products, and then like actually a lot of our things are specialized for different things. Like compression tights are optimally made for like the weightlifting, which is also like a crossfitty thing. And then like the martial arts, you need all the like the compression gear. Then we made shorts like with a specific different cuts and different ventilation stuff, to like make it easier for barbell use and all that stuff. And I don't think we've been good enough to like explaining to people that it's actually made with that purpose,
yeah,
right?
I
So
get that.
there's actually someone who thought about, oh, let's do it like this, not just because it looks pretty or whatever. It actually also like there's thought behind the design.
There's
um
functionality to the product and that it serves a purpose almost.
yeah, so
Yeah, I
that's
get
what we're
that.
trying to and also perhaps be a bit more fun about stuff. So it's not always so black and gold or serious. Like
Yeah.
we're actually like, the guys from California, they surf and like mountain bike, and it's about just also enjoying life a bit, because you know what is life without enjoyment?
Bro.
So
Spoken like a true
that's all.
sage, Kim.
I don't. Yeah, thank you. But that's what we're kind of trying to go back to the root, and then like really understanding the functional fitness scene, also figuring out like weightlifting, powerlifting, the martial arts, and also all the water sports that we also do a bit in, like, and trying to like combine that so that virus is always also seen as like a symbol, so it's not that we have to use the big community, that everything is a community and all that stuff, but still, like, luckily most of our customers are cool people, and then they're probably cool if they have a t-shirt. And of course, as the brand grows, then perhaps other people also come into the brand. But that's how it still is in the States. Like, it
Think
has
as
like
well,
a
though.
value as well.
Yeah, I think as well though but it's really it's refreshing to hear it, because as someone who I'm trying to break into the big leagues with Ollie, and I think we're going to do it, and hopefully in the next year and a half, you'll be seeing our product everywhere. But um it's nice to hear that, even though, like, I'm in complete awe even to have you on here, and I'm in awe of the Virus brand as a whole, as someone who appreciates design, and as someone who appreciates a good brand with a great message. It's nice to hear you say that it's still easy for such a big business to kind of get lost in the motion of business as such. So that it's refreshing. It gives me confidence as well, knowing that it is easy to kind of get lost along the way, but that there's always a way to find your way back. You know what I mean?
That, so I would say it's the goal to find our way back. It
Yeah.
hasn't really happened yet, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah, I'm
think
sure.
though, even from listening, and I know that's obviously just a brief overview of how you're going to do it. But as a fan, I'm excited to see you bring that in. But listen, I'm going to stop talking about Varus, because I'm going to start losing customers here if we keep going on, because they'll be moving across to you guys. But the one question I wanted to say was, like, what in your career in general, because obviously this show first and foremost is a show to help to help educate and empower and inform people, try to pick the brains of successful people and see what makes them, and hopefully they can teach and learn. So what has been in your career one of the better teachers, whether that be trial and error, whether it be working under mentors, what has been a good teacher for you?
I would actually say like the the American, like the CEO I've been working with from Virus. He has a lot of we have a lot of strong sayings that we like to say a lot, and one of them is like the hard decisions, easy life. Easy decisions, hard life. So because sometimes you also have to do some not cool things, like because that's how it is, and then it hurts a bit, but then it goes and then it goes away again. But it's always, but I think like I learned a lot from him, and also I guess what I learned mostly, and I've thought a lot about, is like perspective in business and life and whatever, all that blah blah. But it is a perspective question, and like, what's the most important thing? What's the one thing that we should do right now? And then you have to sometimes just leave the other things behind, and then you can write it down and come back to it. Or perhaps if with email, like sometimes, like, what's the worst thing that can happen if you don't reply? Well, then if it's important, then they'll probably write again, or else life goes on.
Yeah, I get that, mate. I get that again. It's refreshing to hear that it's someone who, like, I'm still in the early stages of my entrepreneurial career, and I was somewhat of a micromanager right up until I would say like 3 months ago. Like lockdown has actually really helped me develop my own toolbox, and also to hear to contextualize kind of that saying, and hard decisions, easy life, easy decisions, hard life. I kind of what that means. I'm sure all the listeners know, but what that means is if you choose the uncomfortable path, if you choose, or if you understand that the obstacle is the way, well then, you're going to reap the benefits and the rewards of making those hard calls. And it's anybody can go and set up a widget business. Anybody can go and sell a product or wholesale a product, and it's easy done. But to make really hard calls and to put real thought and real creative energy into things, ultimately that's where the magic happens. And then your third point as well about mentorship and talking with the CEO, I would say you already know how blessed you are to have a resource like that.
Sure.
And
yeah,
have you?
but I guess
been many other CEOs that you've worked underneath before?
no, just the one from the ski company, and I wouldn't like that was more just
Generic.
I guess that was just a job. I guess.
Yeah.
Just do something, and then I did something. So I wouldn't say that, but like I also have like a business coach that I see like every second month, and we talk about stuff, and also like the work, and then also the private thing, like the work life. I don't know if it's married or not. Yeah, well, where I more see it like it's just your life, and then sometimes you work and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
But it's also important, to have, because having fun and doing stuff that's not work related, or just it's important, because that's also why you want to work, right?
Yeah.
I guess like because then you want your freedom, or the options and opportunities to do stuff, and then you have to make money, and then you have more opportunities and options, but it doesn't always make things easier, right? Then you just have more things, and then you want more money, and then you're back in the head space where it's kind of crammed sometimes.
Yeah, I get that. And I think as well, and you touched on the work-life balance and having that, I think if you have a life outside of your job, it's great. But, if you get the balance just right, your life outside of the job really ends up complementing the work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, because you're going in feeling refreshed, you're going in feeling like you're not, you're going in feeling rested, you're going in feeling like you've had your fulfillment in all the key areas in your life. And I think a lot of people can get caught up in the rat race of it all. They can get caught up in just thinking that the hustle is 100 hours a week, and it's non-stop, but obviously it's not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. And I guess it's also social thing, right? It's cool to be busy all the time, or it's or that's just a normal thing to be busy, because if you're busy, then you must have something to do, and then like whatever, all that stuff. And the same, like just tying it back to the complexity thing, or the balance between things, that you think the more money or whatever, like the more good decisions you make in life, then the less complicated your life will be. But somehow the brain always seems to find ways to complicate everything. So it's like it's never just like an easy path. Perhaps like if you're like a yogi master or something, I don't know. But for normal people, I think like the brain just likes making things complicated, no matter where you are in life.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot about relativity, I think, as well. Like it's the whole thing, the more money you make, the more responsibility you essentially have. It's almost a direct correlation, but it's also the higher level of the decisions you're making, the higher level of problem you're going to be facing. So, it's kind of like in choosing the path to make the hard decisions, it's kind of like you can almost bet your ass that there's going to be some stuff that's just going to make you incredibly uncomfortable regularly.
Yeah, it's true. And and I guess like the more responsibility you have, the more of those decisions you have to make.
Exactly.
I don't know. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, or
Yeah.
I guess
So
it's just a thing.
I'm loving where this is going. And one thing I wanted to say as well, and like it's kind of just what we touched on, is as the kind of the CEO for Varus in Europe, like that's a lot of pressure. Or well, from the outside looking in, as someone who like my business is tiny. We have 3 guys. It's a very very small business, and I even feel the pressure. Like, how do you cope with the pressure of working, and representing this massive brand in Europe? Like, you're literally in control of that.
The pressure. Well, I guess there wasn't a lot of pressure in the beginning, because then we just had to see where it's going. But now, now we have budgets and goals and numbers, and I guess the way to handle pressure is just like to talk with your colleagues and figure out how do we hit these numbers, because, and that's again like a boring thing, right? But then things are about making money at the end of the day, right? They have to also get their salary, and like everyone needs to get paid at some point. So I would say like having nice people to work with is a big part of the pressure. And also I have like 2 regular meetings with the US every week, so that also helps a lot, because we're more on the same page now. Whereas I hustled a lot in the beginning, where they didn't really understand why I had to hustle. But to get people into a completely new brand is, as you know, takes a bit of persuasion, because there are so many other brands. So like, why not just go with that?
Yeah,
So,
man. And I think it's from a consumer's perspective, it's probably easy to overlook just how hard it is to get a customer and retain a customer, because especially in our game, it's so competitive. I think clothing and apparel brands, because of the barrier to entry, like it's literally the reason I started was because the barrier to entry was so low. But it's one of the most competitive market spaces on earth, by right of volume of companies, but also in the nature that we market. Like, we're marketing to incredibly noisy market spaces, with paid advertising. It's whoever's got the biggest budget, or whoever's got got those wee tiny 1 or 2%, of better content, of better influencers, of better this, and it really is an incredibly competitive market. And well, to be brutally honest, like if I was to do it again, I'd really rethink if I was to go into clothing, because there's been times where you really doubt yourself, and it's easy to kind of look at what the likes of Varus are doing, or Nikes, or the Lululemons, and feel overwhelmed.
of course, yeah.
But I think it's part of it. That's part of the business journey. And to be honest, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, and I'm sure you'll agree, in those hard yards and in those difficult years, like we were talking about it before, like the hustle and learning the hustle. And I think because of Instagram memes, the word is fired about a lot, but it's kind of like, I would say in your first 5 and 10 years of business, you were working, 50 plus hours a week doing jobs that you probably didn't like, but you probably knew in the back of your mind that, your time will come where you don't need to do that. You can do the work that you want to do. Am I kind of, when you relate to my own journey, or is that kind of something that you recognized as well?
No, sure. Like, there's a lot of things I don't want to do, but sometimes you have to do it. But, and again, that's again like back to the hard things and the easy things. Like, if everything was just easy, then and of course, like, there's a lot of hard choices, and if I could choose differently, probably there's like a couple things that I would change, but not something that would drastically change the end result, like, or like today, like where I am today at this moment. I don't see it like, if I had like, I don't know how it would be different if I had done a lot of things differently. But again, that's just guesswork. But I agree, like, I don't know. And if I could end up like the Nike guys, then I would be okay, I guess. And then
So would we all,
or
Kim.
or the Lulu guys would also be an okay place to end. They're doing a pretty good thing. Oh, 1 second. Oh, sorry. No, it's okay. We're good.
Yeah, and actually, we'll just like to give a bit of context to where you're at. You're in the new flagship store in Denmark for Varus, and you give me a wee tour around, and it looks amazing. And hopefully, if I'm in Denmark, you'll come and you'll give me a big fat discount code as well, won't you?
I will figure something out.
But Jay, what's it been like getting your first flagship store in Denmark, and what's the response been to that?
Well, when we opened, we had like an opening party thing in our little yard we have where I'm sitting, and that was really good. Like, we had BKG out here and some of our Danish athletes. But I would say foot traffic is a bit slow. Like, we're not like in the main street, we're a bit off the main street. And, we're such a niche thing. And the brand is still pretty niche in Denmark. So, I would say if it didn't work with that we have our office space upstairs, then it probably wouldn't make sense. But yeah, it's a cool thing to have, because like sometimes you have other people coming and just wanting to see the brand, or just like dropping in. And we've had like people from Germany, UK, France, on holiday that know the brand. So I guess it has its place, but it's not like the thing that's paying all the bills.
Yeah.
But hopefully we're trying to figure out how to be more, like how to do the retail thing like a bit better. But that's also that's a different side of what the other things we're doing.
Big time.
So yeah, the focus.
I know we've looked at retail before, and in fact I was probably a bit naive to the whole retail game whenever initially looking into it, as with everything that I seem to do. But it's a different ball game entirely, and margins operate differently. Having your store overheads really impact the way you have to do business, and like you said, you aren't on a main street, and it's in retail and high street. It's literally, you could be one street across and make 3 or 4 times more, just based on, because essentially it's a shop is a marketing catalyst as well as a place, point of sale. And like I say, one street across could mean the difference between staying open or closing.
But also, like, if you go down the main street in Copenhagen, like, there's also a lot of free space right now. Like, the bigger brands have to perhaps only have one store, or doing some other stuff. But also, like, there's also more flagship stores opening.
Yeah.
So, like, trying to do stuff. I think we're getting a Lulu store in Copenhagen as well, actually. So that's going to be interesting to see.
That will be interesting. But yeah, but listen, we have the big question that we ask everyone, and the main reason we ask it, Kim, is so the whole idea of this podcast is to kind of share different messages of what success looks and feels like, and really to show people that it is a purely subjective and relative journey. And we want to really try and get out there all these different variations and viewpoints, because we've had such an array and it's been so interesting, and no two definitions have been the same. So what is your definition of success, and kind of what does that look like?
Yeah. So I thought about it, and then like I had to use a bit of my my capacity to try and wrap my head around it, because like the easy answer is like set goals and then reach your goals. Like, that's kind of how it is, right? But then I looked at the constant things that are going on in life, which is time. And then I had to think about what's important to me, and I guess the most important thing is relationships, and like the win-win relationships. And then the difficult part of these two things combined is like prioritizing. So to sum it up, like a success for me is like a period of time, like let's just say a week, where I spend time with people that I want to spend my time with, that also gets value out of spending time with me. And I guess that's actually it. So, then sometimes you're lucky and sometimes you're not lucky, or sometimes you just prioritize horribly and then you have a less successful week. But
Yeah,
that's
I
how it
get
is.
that. I get that, and obviously, like I love that definition, and it's interesting to hear, and I would relate to that, and that I like a lot. One big thing in my life is my friendships and my relationships with people, and I really I don't rely on them necessarily, but they're a massive part of my life, and I can relate to that. But how did you come to that? Because it's a very I wouldn't say spiritual, but it's a very um, it's not about money, and it's not about like financial or wealth success. So how did you come to that?
I guess it started like a long time ago when I read the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People.
By Stephen
And
Covey.
there's, yeah. And
Yeah.
the second one is like see things from the end. I don't remember. I don't remember how it's said, but like where you have to write your own like Declaration of Independence, which translates horribly in Danish, but it's more or less just like how you want other people to see you, and like what's important for you. Um, and I guess that's then I thought like win-win was always like my biggest value. Um, so and that like ties into all relationships. So like it's work or friendships, or like it has to make sense for both parties, or else why should we do it?
It's a
Like
waste of time. It's a waste of
yeah.
time, and I think
So I
it's.
guess that. Oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
go on.
Yeah. So yeah, and then like I also luckily or unfortunately I spent some time of my university college thing doing some philosophy, so I can sometimes my brain goes places, and also because like time is the only thing you'll never get back in life, so don't waste your time on stupid stuff.
Yeah,
And like money you can always hopefully get enough to like so you can like you hopefully have valuable relationships.
yeah, and it's funny, I'm relating to it big time as well because for a couple of reasons, I'm at that point in my life where I'm maybe picking life partners or I'm picking friends that I really want to invest time in, and it's kind of that uncomfortable process of maybe not investing the time in your childhood friends or your long time friends, and actually coming to terms with the fact that that's okay. Um, but I'll be the first to admit that as someone who is so socially orientated, it can be uncomfortable, and it can be a bit bumpy. And then secondly, you were referring to the time, and it's the one thing that we can't get back. And I've just finished reading a book on essentialism, and I haven't shut up about it because it really did. I was all over the place for 5 years and starting up the business and doing my dissertation and having all my part-time jobs, and I just felt like that was what life had to be in order to become successful and to progress, and really it's not. One thing that book taught me, and one thing I picked up from you there, is that you if you are essential with your time, the quality of your life almost increases. You've got stronger relationships, you're doing hobbies that you truly love and want to do, your dedication to your work and your craft is even more so dedicated, and you'll just get so much more of the essence of life, without sounding too philosophical as
No,
such.
no, but I agree. So you have to, again, like now we're back to the good old the hard decisions, right? So sometimes you have to break up with friends, or like perhaps because like as time goes, then perhaps you don't have that much in common. Just because you had a fun time at the playground when like 10 years ago doesn't necessarily mean you have anything in common today. So, and perhaps they feel the same, but no one knows. But why just you don't have to do stuff just because it's easy? Because then again, like we're back to the the easy life, right? Or the easy decisions, then you have the hard life. So
I love that. I've never actually heard that analogy, but it makes so much sense, especially after having touched on that book. And he actually, what you're saying, he refers to that as trade-offs in the book. The author, he calls it a trade-off, and it's referred to a lot of different things, and I'm sure a lot of people have a different flavor of ice cream as to what we're talking about now, but essentially it's the same thing. And it's like those trade-offs or those hard decisions, and really scrutinizing what you do with your time. Ultimately it dictates so much of your happiness, so much of who you spend your time with, so much of what you will actually what's the word, what you will take as a human being or as an individual. What you will take's probably the wrong word, but
no, but I understand. Of course.
But no, mate, I wasn't expecting that wisdom from you, Kim. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
But listen, I'd say we're probably coming to the end of the show. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and again, thank you so much for coming on and giving me your time. I know I've learned so much, and I'm sure people will love to hear your journey and a lot about the Virus brand and what you guys are doing, and then also all of that philosophy at the end. But give us a quick run through of what you've got coming up in the next couple of weeks or months, should I say?
Well, like our summer sale is starting tomorrow, but it'll probably be done by then. But like our summer collection is launching at the start of July, and we're doing like a more fun thing. So you will see some more colors and patterns. And we finally found out how to print or like make fabric with cool patterns that won't fall off. That has taken us a bit of time. And I guess and then just a lot of new cool products, and like we're always trying to be better at what we do, like whether it being shipping or telling stories or working with athletes, influencers, and all that stuff. So yeah, if anyone has any ideas, they're welcome to hit me up. But I would also say it's
so go on.
It's also been fun, like, to talking with you. It's been a long time, and I don't normally spend that much time talking about myself. So, but apparently I can spend a lot of time talking about myself. So,
bro, it was the same as the Filthy 150. I'll get it out of you. I will get it out of you.
No, but it's been cool catching up, and I'm happy that you want to spend some time.
Big time, bro, and you've given me great counsel over the last couple of months, and I email you with the most random questions, and like you said, it might take a day or two to get back, but you always are happy to help me, and I'm so grateful for that. And even now, I just want to take that opportunity to say thank you, Kim, because you have a lot on your plate, and I respect that. So yeah, again, thank you so much, mate, for coming on, and thank you for the help that you've given me. And I'm pretty sure that I'll be in your ear about many problems to come.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you again, Kim. Thank you so much for coming, and I'll talk to you soon, bud.
Cool. Thank you.